Yes, people, we are back for another Hotspur Huddle episode. And with me, like always, I'm joined by amazing I don't really want to call you guests anymore. You're more like my co-host for this because we just all bounce off each other. But anyway, I'm joined by the amazing Wes. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, all good. Thank you, Holly. Ready for hopefully a really good hate watch in about just under 25 minutes time. Where, as my dad says, bonjour PSG. So yeah, other than that, all good, all Gucci. Today I feel Parisian. Like most Spurs fans and like most other fans that aren't Arsenal fans tonight, we are all Parisian in this. So yeah, looking forward to a stacked show. That is for sure.
100%. I mean, Nelson, I would ask how you are, but I assume you're not feeling Parisian like the rest of us.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. Paris is a nice city. Some of them are—I don't even say the word, but some of them are jarring at times. But no, it is gonna be a fun watch. We'll have to wait and see. But I still can't get over. Obviously, we've got a lot to talk about, but I still can't get over last night. It's a crazy feeling. So, yeah. But good to be back.
No, it is definitely good to be back. And like always, this show is sponsored by the amazing Kofa, and Holly's organised once again this week. So, Wes, Bosh. So make sure you go check out Kofa and get involved. But we have got a lot to talk about. And first of all, it was that game last night, Wes, because my word, what an insane game that was against Barca and Inter.
Mate, I'm still kind of like recovering from it because it was definitely. I know football is a game of two halves anyway, obviously first and second, but that was like very much, I mean, I caught the second half in particular, but from what I was hearing and seeing online, Inter were like all over Barcelona in that first half. But then Barcelona just came out and it was like, within 6 minutes, they've pulled the game back round and you're there going like, okay. And then they were having sort of like chances to really kind of take the game away from Inter, which I think aside like Barcelona, they've got the players that can create chances. But it was something that I was a little bit surprised at, given Inter's defensive record in the competition. Obviously, up until I think it was like last week, only conceding 5 goals in total across the whole Champions League phase. But the story of the centre back, scoring the equaliser to take the game to extra time, and then the finish, I think it was from Fratesi, to kind of eventually put Inter through. It was just a mad game, and I think it's restored a lot of people's like hope within football that there is still like this entertainment value and factor. Because I think we're getting to that point where games that get the big kind of build up never usually deliver in terms of what we want to see. But that one definitely did. Obviously, it's not the best comeback from a Champions League semi-final, but I think the game itself, I think both legs you'd argue are right up there in terms of an absolute classic, and I think they will go down in Champions League folklore. But like I say, still not the best Champions League semi-final that we've come across.
No, I think we are a little bit biased though, but I do see what you mean. That game that we had was just unreal. But saying that, Nelson, there was 13 goals over 2 legs. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it?
Absolutely ridiculous. I think it's the manner in which I mean, same scenario happened both times. Inter go up 2-0 on both legs, and Barca make a remarkable comeback. Obviously, in this second leg, obviously Barca think they've won it, and then the Cherby goes and sticks it down the other end. And yeah, it was a phenomenal tie. I think I just, I heard Alan Shearer say yesterday in commentary, like, just thank you. And obviously, Wes hit the nail on the head in the sense of, like, just thanking the teams for just providing this huge entertainment value and just, restoring, I guess, why, the feeling of why we love the sport. Um, it was a crazy game, Holly. I don't even know where to start. I think the one thing I want to point out is something I think kids can learn from this, which I saw. We have probably one of the greatest players in the world at 17 years old in Lamine Yamal. And I think Wes has probably seen this as well. Heading before Cherby scores, he has a chance, or he has the ball on the right wing, and he comes in, and instead of like maybe going to the corner fan, game management, he decides to take a shot, which I think got blocked. I don't think the keeper saved or anything, but it got blocked, and an Inter go down the other end. Dumfries causes it in, and it's 3-3. So I think that's a lot that a lot of young kids can learn, because as much as talented as he is, I think that is where you need game management and experience. A lot of this Barca side are really young. You've obviously got, I think, Kubasi, who made a tackle for that the penalty that Inter got just before half time. Again, that's experience. Could he have stayed on his feet? Could he have pushed Martinez a bit further out wide? Because I think he's still getting there. I think Martinez can sense that the defender's coming, and I think is waiting for that challenge. I mean, all top strikers do it. So I think that's something that I saw in the game, because it didn't hit me until Acerbi scored. You look back at those crazy last few seconds, and Yamal has a chance, could have gone to the corner. Who knows? But you're talking about, if Lamine does that, then Barca are through, and we're talking about Barcelona instead. So it was a crazy game, but definitely for me the best semi-final. I know you guys are biased, but that is the best semi-final or just tie that I've seen quite recently. I know Madrid City the last few years was crazy as well, but that for me was sensational. So I enjoyed it. Good watch.
I think that's the thing, because I think I tweeted, I said, this is football. And like you've kind of both alluded to, like it's been a long time where I've actually sat there and enjoyed a game of football. Granted, I do watch a lot of Tottenham, so I'm never going to be happy. But saying that, I actually did enjoy it. And kind of picking on what Nelson kind of said again, Wes, in terms of, I do forget how young Lamine Yamal is. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it is. He's one of those players that, like you say, you forget his age, and then somebody reminds you of his age, and you go, "Damn, what was I doing at his age?" Yeah, I wasn't playing football at that level. Put it that way. But I think Nelson's absolutely spot on as well in terms of that game management. Because I think sometimes when players play football, they have to, and coaches will say a lot about this as well in terms of game state and stuff like that. Like you have to kind of get that sense and that feel for it. I think obviously in that moment he's obviously trying to put that game beyond doubt and kind of make it comfortable. But yeah, I think Nelson's kind of bang on. I think if he goes to the corner flag, nobody's going to argue, nobody's going to grumble. Run that clock down, buy a foul, buy a free kick in, deep and into territory, and they get frustrated, they lose their heads. All of that kind of stuff. So, but no, I just think it was a great watch, and I was actually saying to somebody, I think it was last week, about like Lamine Yamal, and it's the fact that I'm not doubting his ability as a footballer, because I think he's brilliant, but he's a bit of a throwback in terms of an old school winger, in the sense that he's probably doing what wingers did 15, 20 years ago, in the fact that I'm just going to get the ball and I'm just going to run at you. Obviously, my idol was Aaron Lennon. He was known for it, right? He'd get the ball and he would just burn anyone that he used to come up against. And I think that's what Yamal's doing. But it's refreshing, because how many times now do we see wingers? I know a lot of them play on the opposite sides of their strong foot. I was one of that. I was guilty of that as a player myself. But they're not direct anymore. They're not coming in, and they're not wanting to go at their player. Yes, Uncle Albert, he's back. But yeah, it's just refreshing to see like what he does when he's on the ball, instead of just passing it back or taking that safe option. He likes to take risks. Is the point I guess I'm trying to make. So, like I say, from a winger's point of view, and an ex-winger myself, it's just refreshing, because it's not something we see that regular anymore in wide players. Yet the game of actual football itself hasn't really changed too much in terms of like what you have to do. It's just like, I think it's just more coaches over trying to overcomplicate things when they don't necessarily need to be honest.
I'm with you. No, I definitely get that. It is refreshing to see him, but unfortunately he won't be in the final, because Inter have secured their place in there, and tonight we'll see who the other finalists are. Now, Nelson, how are you feeling before this big game?
I'm feeling okay. Like I told you before we went on air, I'm just wanting it to be done, because I'm just so anxious to see who will win that second leg. I think obviously team news has come out. For those who don't know, who hasn't seen, obviously Partey's back. Marino's back up top for Arsenal. Timber, who was a late scare, is also starting. So pretty much the team that won the first leg against Madrid is the one starting. But it was the big news for PSG that Dembele isn't starting and he's on the bench, which I think shocked a lot of people. I think Luis Enrique had said that he's trained for the last 2 days, so he's available and fit. But I don't think he's fit enough to start. But for me, as an Arsenal fan, I shouldn't worry about the team news, because as soon as that number 10 comes on for them, like you're on the back foot. Like, we're talking a guy who completely has transformed this PSG side, has taken upon the mantle of being the guy, being the man on for this team, and he's obviously the top scorer for 2025 so far. So I think Arsenal shouldn't look at that team sheet and think, okay, he's not started, but at the same time, the fact that he isn't starting, you're probably looking like, when strikers see defenders that they're, looking forward to come up against. I think Arsenal as players, as fans, should look to, especially those first 45 minutes. Not sure how that's going to go, but if you're thinking that Dembele's not there, a lot probably changes, because he's that false nine that drops in deep and kind of helps with beating the press. But Arsenal fans, not Arsenal fans, the players should be looking to hopefully exploit PSG. But who knows? I don't know, but I'm very anxious to see how it goes. And I think unfortunately, compared to last night's semi-final, I don't think it will be the same entertainment value, but I think it will still be a good semi-final.
Definitely. And Albert's jumped in here to come and say his little thing. Don't worry, because me and we'll all be shooting off shortly, but me and Wes have got a hate watch to watch tonight, haven't we, Wes? Because I think it's going to be an interesting game. I'm very fortunate and lucky that they are 1-0 down, but I don't think that necessarily means anything at the moment.
No, I don't think it does. And obviously, if last night's game's anything to go by, it's a case of never write off a team that has a small deficit or anything like that in a European game. I think from an Arsenal perspective, last week's scoreline has helped them, because PSG, I think we said this last week, could have really gone for it. And if it was, say, 2 or 3, then if I'm an Arsenal fan, I'd be slightly concerned. The fact it's only 1-0, the game is still very much in the balance. But I think the fact that they've still got pace in their team, despite the fact Dembele isn't starting, would potentially worry me as an Arsenal fan. And yes, okay, Partey's there in the starting 11, but he's got to get near them 3 technicians. He's got to get near him first of all, because I've got a feeling that if they're smart, then if he's trying to come at them, they're just going to pop it round him. I think Arsenal, for me, first 45, maybe even to an hour, stay in the game, keep it tight, and then maybe after an hour, 65, 70 minutes, look to maybe, if the game's still there for them, then maybe go for it. But yeah, obviously PSG have got the advantage. They don't necessarily need to go gung ho for it. They can kind of sit and almost lure Arsenal in and get them on the counter, which again is a scary thing, I think, from an Arsenal perspective.
Definitely. And obviously, Nelson, if you do manage to go all the way to the final, you've got Inter up next. And how do you kind of feel going up against them after obviously that game last night?
Do you know what? I think Wes hit the nail on the head last week. We spoke about, potential finalists, and initially I was just scared of facing Barcelona's ruthless attack. But after watching the game last night and seeing how high Barcelona seemed to defend yesterday's game, I'd be more worried about facing Inter from a defensive standpoint and how they're very organized. And I think Inzaghi's done a great job this season. So I'd be kind of worried about that. But the fact that it was quite an open game last night would probably suit us more, because it felt that way against Real Madrid. Real Madrid felt like there was no defensive discipline, and the game kind of opened up for us to exploit them. So it could actually benefit us. And when I was thinking, when Wes mentioned the point, I could see his point. I really understood it, because it felt like an Atletico Madrid kind of vibe, where they just sit back and you really have to try and break them down. But the fact that last night's game was so open, I'd want to fancy facing Inter, but you never know. I mean, Inzaghi's a great tactician, so he'll probably look at the last few games of the Premier League season and look throughout the season to see how he probably could exploit both teams. So, Inter will be a tough one for both PSG and Inter. So, for PSG and Arsenal. So it'll be very interesting to see. But obviously, it's just after tonight, I just need the game to be done. I'm just trying not to get too anxious. But those are my feelings and thoughts, Holly.
I'm with you. And the thing is, obviously, there is that small deficit. And although in our game tomorrow, Wes, in Europa League, we have a bigger deficit, but it's still making me feel very worried, even though we are 2 goals up in front.
Yeah, because it's Tottenham. That's literally what it is. It's kind of not even giving me like Tamworth vibes. It's more like Young Boys, where early goal puts us on the back foot, then I think we'll start to see the character within this team. For those that don't remember the Young Boys Champions League game, we were 3-0 down inside half an hour on our first foray into the Champions League. And you're going, yeah, this is just typical Tottenham in a qualifying game as well. So yeah, that's the kind of feeling that I'm getting, a little bit more like Young Boys. Obviously, it's Bodo Glimt's probably biggest game for a while, I would argue. The whole town is probably bang up for it. The English are coming, all of that kind of stuff. But I think we need to show some real levels of discipline. I think if we put in a similar performance for me to what we did against Frankfurt, I don't see there being too much problem or issue. I don't think they really caused us too many problems or issues last week. Obviously, yeah, we're going onto a plastic pitch. They're going to be a little bit more used to it and a bit more in tune with it compared to what we are. So, yeah, I think we've just got to be bang up for it. Like I think the players will be, because I think they're starting to kind of understand the severity of what it kind of means for the football club to be in the position that it's in at the moment, obviously from a league point of view, because we know it's not been good enough. But then for this European venture, it's like, okay, we've actually got something here and we could potentially make something really special for everybody, like within the fan base, young, middle-aged, old, whatever. So, yeah, I just think if we show a real sort of disciplined performance, and I think if we do that, you could almost sense it kind of being that coming of age of this Tottenham team. And yeah, I'll be nervously trying to look at getting a ticket to Bilbao in more ways than one. I guess like most people, I've had people asking me today, and we're not even there yet. Like, are you going? Like, if we get there, kind of thing. I was like, I don't know yet. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But I think we've got to be bang up for it tomorrow, because if not, they'll catch us out.
I think so as well. And I think obviously the biggest blow for us, Nelson, is the fact that now Maddison is kind of out. And I don't think he'll be back to the start of next season. So obviously if you try and put a Spurs hat on, how would you feel losing a player like Maddison in a semi-final like this in the second leg?
I mean, we're talking about a great creative player, and I think you need that to create obviously chances and to try and exploit any kind of defense. And yeah, he'll be a big loss tomorrow. But I think the fact that he'll probably be there and traveling with the squad to kind of go and support them will probably still give the boys a boost. Because I was very confident for you guys to win that first leg. But obviously, I did mention the fact that if you do concede a goal, like within probably a 2-goal kind of margin, that it could still be dangerous. But like Wes said for Arsenal's game, if you guys can hold it out until half time.
Oh dear, Nelson hasn't paid his Wi-Fi bill.
I thought you stayed this. I thought you were frozen as well.
I think he's a bright spark to change.
Oh, Nelson's gone. What's going on here? He's off. He wants to watch Arsenal.
No, I'm not off. I'm here.
He's back.
No, it's a big loss, Holly. I'm going to put it short and sweet. It's just a big loss. I think not having him in the squad, I think the players will think about, how, and Andrew will probably have his plan B, because he probably had his plan A with a Maddison in the squad. But now Maddison not being there, will probably look to rejig things around. But I think the boys will go and do it for Maddison. I think I think the cohesion that they've had throughout this Europa League campaign, I think has been good to see. And I think they'll go out there and do it for him. So yeah, those are my thoughts and feelings.
Hopefully that is the case, because we need a trophy. Because Wes, there's one man that has managed to get a trophy last week, or a couple of days just gone, and that is Sir Lord Harold Kane. So for you, Wes, how lovely was it to see him actually win a trophy now?
Yeah, it was nice, but he's left. So I don't kind of understand the whole thing of like, yeah, that's my guy, he won a trophy, like all this kind of commotion, like of Harry Kane winning a trophy. Like, it didn't really bother. Yeah, I'm okay, pleased for him, but he didn't do it in a Spurs shirt. So, there's a part of me that goes, I don't really care, to be honest. Like, it's one of those where you just go, yeah, like, good for you, bro. Like, crack on. Come back home and get us out of this mess for us. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how I felt. I couldn't get my head around all these people going like, oh yeah, if there's anybody that deserves it, it's Harry Kane. Da, da, da. Like, all of this. I'm like, he's had some opportunities to win trophies in a Spurs shirt. Let's not forget that. And he didn't always deliver in those big moments, despite the fact that, yes, he was a player that kind of bailed us out, if you like, time after time. But yeah, I weren't really that bothered, to be honest. Like, I weren't really that fussed. Like, I weren't particularly fussed when Bale and Modric and the other 60 odd players that have left Spurs to win something. I'm not really going to start like now. Do you know what I mean? I blame Judas anyway. It's his fault for this kind of thing. So yeah, it was just one of them. I was like, oh, nice for you, bro. Like, yeah, crack on.
No, I kind of hear you. I was one of those people that was buzzing for him and over the moon, even though he wasn't in his first shirt. But I do kind of get it. Like you said, he had lots of opportunities to in his first shirt, he just couldn't do it. But Nelson, for me, it's kind of like now everybody that kind of said, "Oh, you haven't won a trophy," like he's not world class. Does that kind of disappear now? Is he now officially world class?
I always thought he was world class without the trophies. I think it just a lot of people like to put the trophies in arguments to validate why they should be world class. This guy, what, second all time Premier League goal scorer? Like, he could have stayed and just banged the record. He would have probably reached 300 goals if he had stayed. But yeah, he's always been world class. I think the only thing that probably was not helping his case was the lack of trophies. Also, like Wes mentioned, just those moments in big games where he didn't kind of take advantage and didn't show up. That I think is a big one. But I was very much pleased for him. I was very happy. Like the fact that he could actually post a trophy emoji on his Instagram and stuff like that. Like, I'm actually so pleased for him. Obviously Eric Dyer was there as well, so the fact that he's got one as well. But I think I get what Wes is saying. The fact that it wasn't in a Spurs shirt is more frustrating than not, because he's done it time and time again, bailed you out, and all those goals warrant a trophy, but it just hasn't happened. So I think I didn't care as much this year because I was expecting Bayern to go ahead and win it. I think Leverkusen just had an outstanding season. I think no one expected it to happen. That we all related it to the fact that Kane left that season, went to Bayern and couldn't win anything. So we just thought his unlucky run was going to continue. But we knew at some point it was going to happen. So congrats to him, and hopefully he can enjoy, the twilight of his career winning some more.
Definitely.
Holly, the biggest thing is, right, and the biggest takeaway I can get is that Eric Dyer's won more league titles than Bukayo Saka. Like, that's the only positive that's like come out of the weekend. Like, that is it. So yeah, that's pretty much it, to be fair.
Like, it is fair. I kind of see your reasoning, Wes, and I am also just very pleased for the man. But I do get it. Like you said, he had loads of opportunities to essentially do it at Spurs, but it's just the Spursy way of doing it. But talking about trophies, on the last point, it'd probably be because, Wes, we were talking about what we were going to talk about tonight, and you were like, "We've got to talk about this. We've got to do it." So I'm going to let you take the limelight with this, because obviously Leeds' celebration on the open top bus kind of left Ampadu doing what again, Wes?
Oh, mate, if anybody hasn't had the opportunity to watch Ethan Ampadu, Leeds captain, on their open top bus parade, I would fully recommend you watch his performance, because I think off the back of it, he should get his own TV show, but he has to do it when he's absolutely battered. So obviously Leeds had their open top bus parade at the on Bank Holiday Monday to celebrate them winning the championship title. And yeah, Ethan Ampadu he's probably still hungover like now. That's how battered he was. But yeah, what a performance he put in, by the way, because listen, if there was any Leeds player that didn't have a chant, Ethan Ampadu came up with one on the open top bus. I'm not going to repeat what he said about Wilfred Gnonto, but because there might be some kids watching. But honestly, if anybody hasn't seen that bit in particular, it's feeding generations, and I think that is going to be clipped and rehashed and reused, especially next season, and especially if and when Wilfred Gnonto scores for Leeds. It's a similar chance to the one that Spurs had for Antonio Conte. It's probably the best way I'm going to tee that one up. But yeah, Ethan, I just thought we had to speak about it because Ethan Ampadu's dropped an absolute all-timer of a performance on a mic for the Leeds open top bus parade and singing about Wilfred Gnonto, to be fair. So yeah, I just wanted to do that because yeah, it's had me in absolute stitches because it's one of those that gets funnier every time you watch it. It's one of them like it's coming, but you just can't help but laugh.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna have to go check it out now. I can't believe I haven't seen it yet. But
No, honestly, you'll
It's
be
good.
like howling. You'll be howling, and then you'll probably be just singing about Wilfred Nonto like I have for the past 2 days.
no, I mean, obviously, it's always good when you have those celebrations, and hopefully, Spurs will be out. I'm not going to say Arsenal, but hopefully Spurs will have that soon with our open top bus. But you know what, guys? I think we'll call that a wrap because it's 1 minute into the Arsenal game. Me and Wes want to go watch watch, and Nelson wants to hopefully see his team go on and do the business. So,
Yes.
actually, Nelson, I know you said before we came on air you had something to show us. Go on.
I did. So, quick story. My colleague who used to work at a boarding school, who now works with me, he, these rich kids come and stay during the summer. And basically, what had happened was he was clearing out his office. It was finally time for him to leave. And he had all these hats like with him, and he was going to throw away this one hat. And his wife was like, "Oh, do you know why do you need that?" Like, he's a Liverpool fan, by the way. But, his wife told him to throw it away. But he was like, "No, I'm going to bring it into work because I know a guy who might like this." So he's come in the next morning and has given me this hat, which obviously I'm going to show the hat. Okay. It's a typical, Gooner's hat, whatever. But it's the fact that I look at the bottom and he's sent me this. And if I zoom in properly, you can see that it's actually signed from Bukayo Saka himself.
Oh wow!
Like, yeah, it's fully there. I think it's there. There we go. There's
Oh,
a nice shot
wow.
there. Yeah,
Don't
so
put any Purcell on it because it will get rid of it. I think everybody's seen that advert as well, right?
yeah, that's the advert. I can't put nothing. Look, I'm just saying right now, if we win the Champions League, I am selling this for £5,000. Okay, so I am earning my money because that is insane. I'm not gonna wear it. I just feel like I can't wear it, and it's just I just want to add that in before you wrap up, Lily. So yeah,
That is unreal. I mean, I love Saka when he's in an England shirt, so that's fine.
yeah.
But like that is mental. You should get it in
It's-
like a box and put it on like a shelf or something.
Yeah, I should probably get in a box, but I'm feel sorry for the kid who lost it in the end. He's probably fuming halfway across the road. Yeah.
I heard it was the kid in the Purcell advert. To be fair,
Oh dear.
Yeah.
No, that's cracking. That's so cool though. But no, thank you for sharing that now. That's sick.
No
But like I say, thank you once again, everybody that's been watching this live. It's gonna go back and rewatch it. Like I say, it's gonna be a good evening for football tonight, and hopefully an even better one for Spurs fans tomorrow as well, with that big game. So like I say, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you again, guys. Oh, we've got to go around the table, do our goodbyes. So where can everybody find you, my friend?
yeah. So it's Twitter's at Wezo10, the unofficial Moussa Dembele fan account. I'll probably end up being a Matthias Tell fan account by the time the season's finished. After Sunday's discussion on the Park Lane pod, which again is something that I'm usually on a Sunday at 7:00. So make sure people are liking, subscribing to that channel as well as yours, of course, Holly, for all the amazing work that you do. Even mixing it with one of mine and Nelson's old uni friends as well in the week. I did see that. Big up Brandon Smith. But yeah, Instagram's at Wezo32. My next Spurs game is Brighton at home, last game of the season. Who knows, we might have a trophy to show off in that particular one because the Europa League final is before that particular game as well. So fingers crossed on that as well. And yeah, anything football coaching related is Kofa MK or Kickoff Football Academy across all your socials. But again, make sure people are liking, subscribing, all the good stuff. So yeah, we can do some more cool stuff ahead of next season as well.
Gosh, yeah, watch your space, people, for next season. And Nelson as well, where can everybody find you doing your thing?
Do you know what? I used to get really jealous when Wes was like the unofficial Moussa Dembele account, but now I can say the unofficial owner of a Saka signed hat. So you can find me on Instagram, N Natumba25. So that's N, my last name Natumba, as you can see on screen, and 25 on Instagram. Bosh.
Oh, amazing stuff. Thank you once again. Like I say, we'll be back next Wednesday for another show, and Holly Soxers Live is back on Monday. There's not very many left, to be fair, so make sure you are subscribing, liking all the good stuff. And until next time, Holly Spurs.